A pleasant day to each and everyone. Our group is tasked to discuss the topic related on the beginning of life. I am Charlene May C. Manansala and I'm here to discuss to you the principle of the inviolability of life. First is we have to define the terms. Inviolable came from the Latin word in, which means not, and violabilis, which means able to violate. Inviolabilis means not to be violated. Sanctity came from the Latin word sanctus, which means sacred, holy, or inviolable. In religion and ethics, inviolable simply means sanctity. According to Cambridge Dictionary, inviolable means must be respected, not removed or ignored. What is life? Life is defined as a state characterized by the ability to get and use energy, reproduce, grow, and respond to change, according to Merriam-Webster. The principle of inviolability of life is also called the sanctity of life. It is a principle of employed protection regarding aspects of sentient life that is said to be holy, sacred, otherwise of such value that they are not to be violated. This principle also permits the withholding or withdrawing of life-prolonging treatment that is not worthwhile because it's too futile or too burdensome for the patient. In Christian belief, life is of intrinsic value. It prohibits intentional killing in both passive and active form. Life is considered alone with the Creator, alone and only God who has the power to take life. In my next slides, I will discuss to you the authors and the theorists on their view related to this principle. First is the Jeremy Bentham, who is known as the father of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a theory that argues that action should be judged right or wrong to the extent that they will increase or decrease human well-being or utility. He also advocated that if the consequences of an action are good, then the act is moral, and if the consequences are bad, then the act is immoral. Second is Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant believes human being is above all price. Human beings have self-conscious goals and desires. Human beings have an intrinsic worth, example, dignity that makes them as rational beings. Treating someone no different from any other object is an act of immoral or irrational. He believes that humans are considered to be essentially better above all other creatures. Next is the author John Keon. It is viewed that intentional killing is not ethical and should not be legally permissible. Yet, it is often acceptable to withdraw the life support even if a particular medical treatment is worthless. The human patient is never worthless. He believes that one cannot actively and intentionally hasten death. However, treatment can be omitted, allowing death to occur naturally. Peter Singer. Peter Singer claims that the value of human life comes from us being self-conscious beings. He claimed that the self-consciousness set us aside from other species. By being self-conscious, we are able to decide if we continue to value our lives and therefore able to exercise our own autonomy in ending our lives as we are able to make rational, self-conscious decisions.
Good day. My name is Jerry Atindido and I am tasked to discuss this day about the theory of the beginning of the existence of human life. Several attempts have been made from time to time to explain the origin of life on Earth. As a result, there are several theories which offer their own explanation on the possible mechanism of origin of life. Following are some of them. First, the theory of special creation, theory of spontaneous generation, theory of biogenesis, theory of biochemical evolution, theory of panspermia, and deep sea hydrothermal vent theory. First, we discuss about the theory of special creation. This theory says that all the different forms of life are created by God. This theory is accepted by most of the world's religion, even the Christian or Islam. It stated that life was created by the wishes of a divine being or some supernatural power, the creator or God. Father Suarez, the Spanish monk, the greatest supporter of this theory, he stated that on the sixth day, the land, animal, and human was created. The first man was Adam. He was created from clay. The first woman was Eve. He was developed from the 12 ribs of Adam. Next, the theory of spontaneous generation. This theory states that living things originated spontaneously from inanimate objects or from non-living things. It is also called a biogenesis or biopoiesis, meaning the origin of life from non-living matter. The Greek philosopher Aristotle, who proposed this theory, he notioned that life can arise from non-living matter, since she believed on his experiment that maggots arise from rotting meat. He proposed that life arise from non-living material if the material contained pneuma or spirit or breath. But this theory na ay mga opposers like Francisco Redi, Spallanzani, and Louis Pasteur. Those opposers disproved the hypothesis of Aristotle that maggots were spontaneously from rotting meat. Based on the picture showed sa side, that was Redi experiment, he contended that maggots were the result of lice laying eggs on exposed meat. The third theory was the theory of biogenesis. Bio means life and genesis meaning beginning. Based on the theory that life can only come from life. And it refers to any process by which a life form can give rise to other life form. Kabaliktaran sa theory of spontaneous generation, kay dito na theory, life comes from non-living matters, wherein dili nga theory is life comes from living matters. Louis Pasteur, the one who gave this theory of biogenesis, and it was proved by his scientific experiments that based on practical and material evidence. Sa iyang experiment, he boiled a beet broth, some tube-sealed and some are open. No microbes appeared sa mga non-sealed container, but they did appear on the unsealed container. According to Pasteur hypothesis, all living organisms arise from the cell of organism on dust particles in the air, whereas not from the air itself. Mabiyang theory nga germs theory. It was supported by other scientists, namely Francisco Redi and Spallanzani. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. To continue, another theory regarding the origin of life is the theory of biochemical evolution. Biochemical evolution is also known as molecular evolution, chemical evolution, or modern theory of origin of life. According to this theory, life appeared after a period of chemical reactions. It was proposed independently by Russian scientist Alexander Oparin in 1923 and English scientist John Burdon Sanderson Haldane in 1928. The theory explains that life originates from simple inorganic substances. Inorganic substances are transformed to organic substances. The organic compounds gradually accumulate in oceans and form a hot primordial soup or hot dilute soup. Oparin proposed that these are organic and inorganic molecules aggregated and precipitated in sea, forming organized colloid aggregates called coacervates. This illustration is an example of Miller-Urey experiment. The water is heated and the mixture circulates for many days. After a week, 15 amino acids appeared in the mixture. Other biologically important molecules had been formed, including ethanoic acid, lactic acid, and urea. Later, similar experiments were done using the carbon dioxide that produced nucleotides. Next is the theory of panspermia. Panspermia means seeds everywhere. It is also known as cosmosic theory. The seed of life exists all over the universe and can be propagated through space. It contains extremophile organisms or organisms that survive in extreme conditions. Life then had come to Earth in the form of resistant spores. This theory was proposed by Lister in 1865 and supported by Arrhenius. British astronomers Fred Hoyle and Chandra Wickramasinghe proposed that interstellar dust in comets contains organic compounds. Comets, which are largely made of water or ice, carry bacterial life which across galaxies and protect it from radiation damage along the way. It is shown in illustration A in figure 5, the putative fossil bacteria, amphictarchs commonly found in sediments on Earth, with cracked outer shells. The graph illustrates a conspicuous and deficiency characteristics of fossils. In illustration B, SEM or scanning electron microscope images putative living microbes with evidence of biofilm. Another theory is the deep sea hydrothermal vent theory. The deep sea vent theory suggests that life may have begun at submarine hydrothermal vents, spewing key hydrogen-rich molecules. Their rocky nooks could then have concentrated the molecules together and provided mineral catalysts for critical reasons. Even now, these vents, rich in chemical and thermal energy, sustain vibrant ecosystems. How life began through deep sea vents. In 1977, scientists discovered living communities around the seafloor, hydrothermal vents. It provided an ideal environment for the creation of life during the early Earth. The first form of life in hydrothermal vents were heated by the mineral seawater spewing from the crust in the Earth, creating a gradient positively charged protons that serve as a charge to begin the creation of life.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Sir Leo. I am Michelle Gabrito, and today's topic that I'm going to discuss is all about the current reproductive technology, and one of these is the assisted reproductive technology, or the ART. What is this all about? ART refers to fertility treatments and procedure that can help with difficulties or an inability to conceive children. ART techniques involve the manipulation of eggs, sperms, or embryos to increase the likelihood of a successful pregnancy. And the indications of these are irregular ovulation, abnormal semen fluid analysis, presence of any disorder in the couples that is diagnosed by the physician, unexplained fertility, and the age factor. There are types of assisted reproductive technology. One of these is the artificial insemination. When a doctor inserts sperm directly into a woman's cervix, fallopian tubes, or in the uterus. And the most commonly method that being used is the intrauterine insemination, or the IUI. In this process, after the washing of the sperm in the laboratory, they usually collect the best and the active sperm that directly injected into woman's uterus around the time that the ovary releases one or more egg to fertilize. And the second type of the assisted reproductive technology is the in vitro fertilization or the IVF. And this is the most commonly type that being used in the art. A method in which a man's sperm and a woman's egg are combined outside of the body in a laboratory dish. Mixing of egg and sperm in the laboratory to generate embryos suitable for transfer in the uterus. And the third one is the surrogacy or the gestational carrier. It involves a woman on agreeing to carry a baby for someone else. And depending on which type the people choose when talking art or when talking assisted reproductive technology, there are ethical issues around, and the major points on it is that the new technology in the field of reproductive health method being applied represent a marked break with tradition, and it involves the deliberate separation of reproduction from the act of human sexuality and from the human body. And the third one is the concerns in a genetic material, and the art can be really and very costly. And that's all for my report for today. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, everyone. So to continue, my topic is all about contraception. What is contraception? Contraception, it aims to prevent pregnancy. It is designed as an intentional prevention of conception through the use of various devices. There are types of contraception. 1. Hormonal methods, which includes controlled pills, Depo-Provera injections, and Norplant. 2. Barrier methods, which includes condom, diaphragm, and cervical cap. 3. Spermicides. It contains enoxaparin. 4. Intrauterine devices, also known as IUD. 5. Tubal sterilization for women. 6. Vasectomy for men. 7. Emergency contraception. So how does it become a moral issue? Those who say contraception is morally wrong do so for the following reasons. 1. Contraception is unnatural. 2. Contraception is anti-life. And 3. Contraception is a form of abortion. So I will explain to you the reason why some people may say that contraception is immoral or morally wrong. So, the first one is contraception is unnatural. This means the natural consequence of having sexual intercourse is conceiving a child. It is wrong to interfere with this. Therefore, birth control is intrinsically wrong. And this argument depends on two other ideas. It is wrong to interfere with the natural order of the universe, and human beings interfere with the natural order of the universe at all the time. Then the second one, contraception is anti-life. This argument is based on the premise that life is a good thing. Of this view argue that contraception is morally wrong because life is a fundamental good. It is a good thing. Those who use contraception are engaged in an intentionally anti-life act because they intend to prevent a new life coming into being. And the third one, contraception is a form of abortion. Some birth control techniques can operate by or preventing the implantation and development of a fertilized egg. Those opposed to such methods say that these amounts can lead to abortion, and that if abortion is wrong, then those forms of contraception must also be wrong. The forms of contraception included in these objections are birth control pills, the morning after pill, and the IUDs. So if there are moral issues on contraceptions, there are also ethical issues on contraception. The first one is contraception carries health risk. Contraception culture is dangerous, prevents potential human being from being conceived, and it prevents people who might benefit humanity from being born. According to St. Pope, abortion is not a lesser evil, it is a crime. Avoiding a pregnancy is not an absolute evil. Therefore, you don't need religion to have morals. If you can't determine right from wrong, then you lack empathy, not religion. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Nick Ayon Honcolada and I'm going to report about stem cell technology. Researchers have been looking for something that can help the body heal itself. Although studies are ongoing, stem cell research brings this notion of regenerative medicine a step closer. However, many of its ideas and concepts remain controversial. So what are stem cells? Stem cells are cells that can develop into other types of cells. For example, they can become muscle or brain cells. They can also renew themselves by dividing even after they have been inactive for a long time. Stem cell research is helping scientists to understand how an organism develops from a single cell and how healthy cells could be useful in replacing cells that are not working correctly in people and animals. Stem cells has its own properties. One is self-renewal. Self-renewal is the ability to go through numerous cycles of cell division while maintaining the undifferentiated state. Second is potency. Potency is the capacity to differentiate into specialized cell types. And there are classifications of stem cell types. One is totipotent. Each cell can develop into a new individual. Second is pluripotent. Cells can form only cell types. Third is multipotent. Cells differentiated but can form a number of other tissues. Fourth is oligopotent. Stem cells can differentiate into only a few cell types, such as lymphoid or myeloid stem cells. And last is the unipotent. Cells can produce only one cell type. We have three types of stem cells. We have the embryonic stem cells, the adult stem cells, and the induced pluripotent stem cells. The embryonic stem cells derived from donated in vitro fertilization can be grown indefinitely in the laboratory in an unspecialized state, retain ability to specialize into many different tissue types known as totipotent, can restore function in animal models following transplantation. Second is the adult stem cells, often known as somatic stem cells, are stem cells which maintain and repair the tissue in which they are found. They can be found in children as well as in adults. There are three accessible sources of the adult stem cells. First is the bone marrow, which requires extraction by harvesting, that is drilling into bone. Second is the adipose tissue, which requires extraction by liposuction. And the third is the blood, which requires extraction through apheresis, wherein blood is drawn from the donor, similar to a blood donation, passed through a machine that extracts the stem cells and returns the other portions of the blood to the donor. Third one is the induced pluripotent stem cells, are derived from the skin or blood cells that have been reprogrammed back into an embryonic-like pluripotent state that enables the development of an unlimited source of any type of human cell needed for therapeutic purposes. For example, the induced pluripotent stem cells can be prodded into becoming beta islet cells to treat diabetes, blood cells to create new blood free of cancer cells for leukemia patient, or neurons to treat neurological disorders. And what are the advantages of stem cell technology? As stem cell technology defines rapidly developing field that contains the effects of cell biologists, geneticists, and clinicians, and offers hope of effective treatment for a variety of malignant and non-malignant disease. Studies have discovered that stem cell therapy can help enhance the growth of new, healthy skin tissue, enhance collagen production, stimulate hair development after incisions or loss, and help substitute scar tissue with newly developed healthy tissue. Ethical issues. Why has stem cell research been a bioethical issue? Stem cell therapy remains controversial and has caused a lot of ethical debates. However, human embryonic stem cell research is ethically and politically controversial because it involves the destruction of human embryos. In the United States, the question of when human life begins has been highly controversial and closely linked to debates over abortion. Many people disagree with using human embryonic cells for medical research because extracting them means destroying the embryo. This creates complex issues as people have different beliefs about what constitutes the start of human life. For some people, life starts when a baby is born, while for others, it starts when an embryo develops into a fetus. Meanwhile, other people believe that human life begins at conception. So an embryo has the same moral status and rights as a human child. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, the DOH or the Department of Health issued a public advisory on stem cell therapy, stated that although this technology holds promise, stem cell therapy is not yet part of standard of care and is considered an investigative procedure for compassionate use. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My topic is all about suicide and healthcare directives. Suicide is common among people suffering from mental illness. It is starting to get destigmatized, where people develop this tolerance for suicide to be normalized, considering this association to religion and culture has reached its midpoint. To some, it is immoral. To some, suicide is a viable option in allowing someone to take charge of their life, but believe it or not, it has nothing to do with you, with me, with us, and to the people surrounding a suicidal person. Sometimes, suicide is a way of escaping from pain or suffering. And for its statistics, suicide is more common on males. It is 4 times more common than females, and the age is about 30 years old and below. Healthcare Advance Directives are legal documents that communicate a person's wishes about healthcare conditions in the event the person becomes incapable of making healthcare decisions according to MSD manuals. It is inspiring to know how some people consider not letting their family and relatives carry the burden in deciding for what would come next. But in cases of proceeding with treatments, considering repercussions of side effects, or gracefully giving up life, we should be reminded to always give the patient the right to decide for their life. There are 2 types of healthcare advance directives: the living will and the medical power of attorney or a durable power of attorney. A living will is a limited document that expresses a person's preference for future medical costs. It is also called a living will because it is in effect while the person is still alive or living. While a durable power of attorney or the medical power of attorney means you have to name someone to control your assets, and also it allows you to write to name someone else to make healthcare decisions in your behalf.
Euthanasia. Euthanasia is the practice of intentionally ending life to relieve pain and sufferings as per defined in the Internet. It also involves a person, usually with one terminally ill. The person may be choosing to take their own life, as much as pro-life are considered it unethical. When practicality calls it middle of overwhelming situation, it could be the best choice. If I ever had a special someone in coma or in the brain dead, it would kill me every day seeing how painful it must be for them. In this kind of case, we are left with only hope and miracle, and this barely happens. So then, I probably decide to give up the life of that special someone. Euthanasia applied in terminally ill patient. No remedy for any treatment. In some cases, however, especially when I encounter poverty due to systemic flaws in our government, I will be left with no choice but to let go of that special someone, for I couldn't sustain the medication and life-threatening mechanism anymore. Abortion. Abortion is the most controversial issue in today's world. People tend to turn to the law when trying to decide what is the best possible solution to an unwanted pregnancy. Abortion is the deliberate termination of a human pregnancy. It is disregard and disrespect for human life. It always goes against what the Catholic Church teaches, and it is never okay under any circumstances. Abortion is just as bad as killing someone, because from the moment of conception, a person is living, and it is taking the life of an innocent, defenseless human being. Did you know that the Church has opposed abortion from the beginning? The Church always considered abortion as a mortal sin. The Church believes in the shameless garments of respect for human life from the womb to tomb. There is the remedy for abortion: to adopt, to have life, and to have the meaning of life.
Continue about the topic on abortion, I will be talking about the issues on the U.S. Supreme Court that overturns Roe versus Wade case. To have some background about the case was brought by Norma McConvey, also known as Jane Roe, who in 1969 became pregnant to her third child at the age of 45. She wanted to have an abortion, but she lived in Texas where abortion was illegal, except when deemed necessary, that is, to save the mother's life. Her attorneys, Weddington and Coffey, filed a lawsuit on her behalf against her local district attorney, Henry Wade, alleging that Texas abortion laws were unconstitutional. A three-judge court heard the case and ruled in her favor. The parties appealed this to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's decision on Roe was among the most controversial in U.S. history. Roe was criticized by some in legal community. Anti-abortion politicians and activists sought for decades to restrict abortion by overruling the decisions. Polls were made during the 21st century, and majority, especially in the late 2010s and early 2020s, opposed overruling Roe. June 24, 2022, the Supreme Court overruled Roe on the grounds that the substantive right to abortion was not deeply rooted in this nation's history or tradition. The decision was supported and opposed by the anti-abortion and abortion rights movement in the U.S. and was generally condemned by international observers and foreign leaders. Its decision to overturn Roe and Wade prompted other jurisdictions to take action to protect abortion rights. At least 26 states are expected to ban abortion immediately. In a historic and far-reaching decision, the U.S. Supreme Court officially reversed Roe versus Wade, declaring that the unconstitutional right to abortion upheld for nearly half-century no longer exists.